everybody doing? Good morning. That's right. Good morning. We're still for another half an hour, right? All right. Well, good morning, everybody, and thank you so much for coming today. You know, this is truly an exciting day. We're introducing the first significant changes to the Alberta's Police Act in 34 years. The last time Alberta's policing legislation was changed, the Berlin Wall was still divided, both communist Eastern Bloc from the West, and the Soviet Union had still existed. And as a Calgary guy, the Calgary Flames, were on the way to winning their first and unfortunately only Stanley Cup at that particular time. But suffice it to say, the world was a much different place. And so was Alberta. And even when I was an officer on the streets, working the streets of Calgary over 10 years ago, in 1988, Alberta's population was 2.4 million, a little more than half of what it is today. And since 1988, we're seeing more diversity across Alberta. And while we all have being an Albertan in common, it's fair to say that changes in our province have made it necessary for our public institutions to respond to the changing needs of the communities that they serve. And policing, of course, is no exception. In the 34 years since the last major changes to the Police Act, we moved from having police forces with a narrow mandate to maintain law and order to having police services that still perform that vital function of keeping communities safe, but are expected to involve their communities in developing approaches and solutions that we now understand to be very complex and often nuanced public safety challenges. While Alberta's police services have worked on many fronts to innovate and meet people's changing expectations, there is always more work to do and more ways to keep on improving. Police derive their authority from having the confidence of the public that they serve, but maintaining public confidence isn't their job alone. So under the Police Act, the legislated responsibility to ensure adequate policing throughout the province falls to the Alberta government. If we want our police services to be representatives of the communities they serve and respond to their needs, not just today, but into the future, the provincial government has the responsibility to provide them a framework in order to do so. The Police Amendment Act we're introducing today serves this very important purpose. But while the government is bringing forward this legislation, it's important to add that the contents of this legislation are a product of listening to a broad range of Albertans from a variety of backgrounds and occupations. Minister Shandro did significant engagement to help bring these amendments to life. This includes meeting with more than 200 organizations representing law enforcement, health and social services sectors, municipalities, Indigenous organizations, and of course, very diverse communities. We also heard from nearly 15,000 Albertans who completed a public survey that sought their opinions on a variety of topics, including the role of police in their communities, processes for handling complaints, and officer discipline. In our many discussions with Albertans, one thing that came up consistently was the need to change how complaints against the police are investigated, to end the system of police investigating police. The legislation answers those long-lasting calls to reform the public complaints process by establishing an independent agency to handle complaints against the police, the Police Review Commission. The Police Review Commission will not only boost public confidence by being independent, but by creating a single agency to receive, investigate, and adjudicate complaints. We're also making it easier for Albertans to access the process, stay updated on progress of their case, and resolve their matters more quickly. So in conversations with police agencies, they welcome this change and suggest this transparency. This legislation also addresses a desire for Albertans to have more say in setting local police priorities and performance targets by mandating the creation of formal governance bodies for communities policed by the RCMP. This will give communities policed by the RCMP the kind of oversight that municipalities with standalone police services already have via the local police commission. Under the legislation, a provincial police commission will represent small and rural communities policed by the RCMP under the Provincial Police Service Agreement. It's important to note that the provincial commission will have designated seats for First Nations and Métis representatives to ensure that distinct needs of Indigenous communities are being heard and met. Larger cities and towns with municipal RCMP contracts will have their own governance boards, while smaller municipalities with populations under 15,000 will be represented by regional governance bodies. Giving these communities a more formal role in setting priorities and goals will ensure police are more in tune with their needs. This legislation also gives the public more meaningful role by requiring police to develop community safety plans. Community safety plans will require police to work more closely with civilian partners on strategies that go beyond enforcement and better address root causes of crime. When you have greater collaboration between the police and their partners in the community, it leads to more coordination and helps identify gaps in services, ensuring people get the help that they need when they need it. Whether it's from the police or a local social service agency, this will make our community safer for everyone. Updating the Police Act isn't only about reflecting the needs of Alberta today, but ensuring that we have a blueprint that will serve our province into the future. By 2046, Alberta's population is expected to grow to 6.4 million, and the government's research shows that more than half of the newcomers to Alberta during that time will come here from another country. That's why it's important to have tools to ensure that police continue to evolve and represent the communities that they serve. This legislation will mandate diversity and inclusion plans that outline steps police are taking to reflect their communities and to train officers about the distinct cultural needs of the various communities that they work with. Improving those connections will not only result in better outcomes between police and the people that they serve, building better relationships could lead to more opportunities for mentorship, to encourage more people from diverse communities to pursue a career in policing. This legislation we're introducing today represents a fundamental shift that reimagines police as an extension of the community and provides a variety of practical and realistic reforms aiming to get us there. So I'm very proud of the collaboration. I'm proud of the work that all the folks within the department and all the previous ministers who have come before me have done and the work that they have done. Previous government had done. They started this in 2018 and all the great work that has come since. So thank you to everyone that was involved in this. I'm very humbled and honored to be the one that's kind of introducing this into the legislature later on today. And I know there's still a lot more work to do and a lot more work ahead. Go ahead.
Thank you, Minister. We will now move to our question segment of this morning's announcement. This is a friendly reminder that this is embargoed until the legislation is tabled this afternoon. We will work on doing one question and one follow-up. We're going to go to the room first here. If you could please identify your name and which outlet you're from.
Hi. Arthur Green, Western Standard. Minister, is this bill basically laying the foundation for a provincial police force in Alberta?
Yeah, so no decisions have been made regarding the provincial police service. As you can tell by even the comments that I said, this is about ensuring that the rural municipalities, they have a say at the table under our current model, which is the RCMP, who is the current provincial police service provider.
I've worked in many rural communities, yeah. Bonnyville being one that I just moved from. Would you say the justice system is broken? Because I've spoken with many RCMP officers off the record, and in these communities they say it's only a handful of people committing the same crimes over and over and over. And like, I lived in an alleyway where meth use was prevalent, and I called 911 about 31 times in a year to just express my concern for people's safety. Yeah. And I was told by the RCMP, we just simply don't have enough resources to police the community.
Right. So just remember, as you're fully aware, addiction itself is not a crime, and you probably know the work that I have done over the past few years to create this recovery-oriented system of care to ensure that people that are afflicted with the illness of addiction have a pathway to detox, treatment, recovery, and again, to help them get out of that cycle of abuse. So that is one component of it. When you talk about the system being broken, just remember there are multiple levels of that system, right? So, the police are one component of it, right? Then you have the prosecutors, which are a second component, and you have a judiciary, which are a third component of it. So, to me, it's not about, pointing fingers, we'll say, but I will say that, from here, we're trying to do what we can. Let me just back up a second. This is very important, right? And this goes back to just my experience. A disproportionate amount of people, unfortunately, that sometimes fall within the justice system are afflicted with severe mental health and addictions issues, right? And that's just the reality. Whether the statistics probably show that, but I can tell you my experience tells me that. And that's why we've invested so much money in helping people with their mental health, with their addictions issues, right? Because we can never give up on people, right? It's an illness that requires medical attention, and we're trying to make sure that we're bringing the healthcare system in order to pathway to help folks.
So will we be doing this at the LRT system in Edmonton right now, which is full of drug users and homeless people?
Yeah, well, there was an announcement made under the previous administration, which was a plan to build a hybrid hub in both Calgary and Edmonton that has both police and we'll call it healthcare system. So it's kind of police healthcare, right? So that's currently something that is in progress and underway. And yeah, I mean, people, look, no matter where you are in Alberta, whether you're in rural Alberta, Calgary, Edmonton, any large municipalities, we have a duty and responsibility that you feel safe, right? And right now, there are challenges out there, right? But it's a very complex problem.
Minister, can you please clarify how far negotiations have come with the RCMP on whether this provincial review commission will have any oversight over them? Can you say if this, do they know about this legislation?
The RCMP? Yes.
So how far have negotiations come then? What kind of buy-in have you got from them to participate in this?
The department has told me that the exploration of a APS, as an example, that's under Minister Shandro's purview, and respecting, of course, the work that he's doing. But right now, currently, right, we have some folks within rural Alberta that may not feel as though they're being listened to by the RCMP. That's just the feedback that we've gotten. So, making sure that we have that oversight and that input. But I will say this, the information that I received from the department is that, yeah, the RCMP have absolutely are supportive of this and want to participate.
Are they supportive of the actual review commission though, Minister? Like, I think the question, we were told.
The review commission?
We were told that the RCMP, it's not quite clear to what ability they can participate.
I apologize. I thought I heard you say governance bodies. I thought it was the over governance bodies. Oh, okay. So I apologize for not, I misheard what you had to say. So the review commission, so thank you very much. So right now, the K Division has indicated, yes, they're supportive of this. However, let me just say the however, we're still having discussions with Public Safety Canada on that, right? Because it still falls technically under the RCMP in Ottawa. So although the K Division has been very supportive of these changes that we're making here today, we're still in negotiations with Public Safety Canada.
But how is that user-friendly to the average person who doesn't necessarily differentiate? Oh, that's an RCMP officer who mistreated me. I need to go to this body. Oh, no, that's a local police officer. I need to go to that body. How does that improve the process, user-friendliness of the process for Albertans? Yeah.
Well, unfortunately, it's still going to take about 18 months to get this commission set up. But, again, we're trying to avoid this perception of police policing themselves. And so, whether it be local municipalities or whether it be the RCMP, we're going to continue to negotiate with the RCMP because we believe that the independent body is the right approach, and we're going to continue to go down that path.
Minister, I have a question about the makeup of this commission. So I covered the Hockey Canada stuff quite a bit, and when I was talking to experts about the Hockey Canada board, one of the things they brought up to me was that people who are on that board, who are overseeing the entire organization, a lot of them are very invested in the sport and the culture of the sport because they're former hockey players. players, former coaches, former NHL players. And I'm using that analogy just to say, I wonder to what extent you would like to see people on this review commission who are not police officers and not former police officers, or are those the types of folks you would expect to see on the commission?
No, I won't say that those are the people that I expect to see on the commission. I think that the government of Alberta is going to be going through a robust process of hiring. I encourage all people, no matter what your background is, to apply. My understanding is that there's, we're looking at significant numbers of people that are going to be hired for this. But to me, it's about, it's like when I'm putting my police officer's hat on here, we want to hire good people. We want to hire good people in the commission as well that are going to actually be able to perform these investigations as well. And that's key too. You have to be able to perform these investigations. That doesn't necessarily mean that you have to have been a police officer. I know that there are other professions that do investigations, including folks in the media that do investigations. So I'm just saying that, I welcome all applications on this.
Just a follow-up to, I wanted to ask about expanding the mandate of ACERT to include peace officers and sheriffs.
Yeah.
So is that,
For serious crimes.
For serious crimes, yeah, but, so, to wit then, does that mean that this is paving the way for those folks, peace officers, sheriffs, to have more policing powers?
Well, I mean, I think that's something, I don't know about paving the way for that. No, I wouldn't say that. I mean, regardless, I think you're going down the thought process of maybe sheriffs, but if I'm thinking of, our transit officers or any other bylaw officer or something like that, and unfortunately, if they are involved in something where there is a serious, injury that they directly or indirectly may have been involved in, then ACERT will come as far as their mandate to investigate that, which I think actually makes sense.
Catherine?
But I guess, if to go back to Karen's point, if you're saying you don't want policing police,
Yeah.
then why not have a regulation or legislation to say, no, actually, civilians who used to be police officers should not be on these boards? Why
would we not allow somebody?
If you're getting rid of police oversight, why have an ex-police officer on these commissions?
So that because I was a police officer, that now precludes me from anything involved in policing in the future? I can maybe understand what your thought process is in your question, but I will say the folks that I've worked with, have the utmost integrity. I would say that there are, there's so many various cases. Let me just say that these are very complex cases, but we can't discount somebody that has 25, 30 years of investigative experience as being a possible option as an employee.
Well, and in creating these recommendations, Dr. Areola had recommended no ex-police.
Yeah.
So was that different than the recommendation you got as part of that 6-month review that started last year?
Well, I think there was various recommendations that came into the department, and I certainly respect the recommendation of that doctor, but there, I'd have to ask the department to ask clarification, because I certainly didn't want to speak out of turn, but I will just say that there was probably a spectrum of folks that, everything from having to not having, right?
But Minister, if your intent with this bill is to stop police investigating police, what's the difference between someone on the commission who just left the force within the last 5 years investigating potentially former colleagues or issues of that nature? I mean, how do you avoid problems that might arise from a situation like that?
Well, I mean, ACERT is considered an independent body, right? So this is going to be an independent body. I mean, I'm going to have to rely on the process. I'm going to have to rely on the hiring of the great people that the Alberta government does to ensure that there's independence that's going to be maintained. But again, you can't discount to somebody that has 25, 30 years of policing experience and just, toss that aside, right? I mean, these investigations are very complex on a multitude of different levels.
We have some questions on the line here, guys, so we're going to go to the first caller on the line. Operator, can you put through the first caller?
while we're waiting, can you speak about a province is sticking its hand into a local police?
Ferguson.
Hi there. I was just wondering, in terms of the creation of a provincial police force, how would you describe what's going to happen? Is it like a foregone conclusion that there will be one, or is it something that you could potentially say no to?
Yeah, there's no decisions that have been made on that. I mean, as we're seeing multiple different provinces throughout Canada exploring that as an option, Alberta is no different. We're exploring it. Minister Shandro is taking the lead on this, but there's no foregone conclusion on that.
Caller, do you have a follow-up question?
Yes, I do. So how does the government view the proposal of the rural municipalities of Alberta to have a referendum on this issue for Albertans?
So you want the rural? Well, I mean, look, I mean, this is going to be a decision made by, I would say, caucus. I would say by, obviously the premier is going to have a say. So I don't necessarily think I should be commenting other than that we have to listen to all municipalities. And, certainly I'm having conversations with municipalities in regards to what they would like to see. Because remember, in the end, it's about public safety. And it's not about whether, somebody, I would say likes or dislikes the RCMP. I'm just going to say this. I mean, those officers that work every day. I mean, I was a constable. I was a sergeant. I mean, every one of them, RCMP or not RCMP, work hard every day to do their best to serve the people of Alberta, and nobody should discount that. Yeah.
Thank you, Minister.
Okay,
Operator, can you put through the next caller? And just a friendly reminder, we're here today to talk about the Police Amendment Act, so let's try to keep our questions to that.
François Joly, Radio Canada.
Oh, hi. Sorry if this was covered previously because I missed most of the tech briefing. But just what's the rationale between creating different agency? Why not consolidating all of this into a broader ACERT mandate or folding ACERT into that new provincial police commission?
Well, I think, this is certainly a recommendation that came through broad consultation, and certainly thank all the people that did the work on this. But ACERT deals with serious incidents that involve these police officers. This body is dealing with the intake of the complaint, and a complaint can be a broad range of complaints. I'll just say that. So having been somebody that is aware of what the process is when it comes to professional standards. Again, I can tell you there's broad complaints that come in for various reasons. But ACERT is dealing usually with somebody that that officer is directly or indirectly involved in a very serious incident where somebody has been injured, or even the officer himself has been injured, him or herself has been injured by their actions. Yeah.
Thank you. And do you have a follow-up?
Yeah, I'm just wondering what we asked about buy-in from the RCMP. What buy-in do you have from First Nation on this? Like, have you personally had discussions with First Nation leaders on this police commission? I know you said there's going to be seats for them on these councils, but what kind of discussion were they involved in?
Well, the department is consulted. What I'm aware of is that we've had nothing but support from folks within the communities. I know that my constituency is next to Sutina. I can say that there's a fabulous police service there, and Chief. I believe his name is Chief Blake, who is the police chief out there. I know that the work that he does, he's been very supportive and inclusive. Maybe that's a technical question for the department as to the specific conversations on that. Yeah.
Thank you. And operator, we have enough time for one more question, so can you please put through the last caller?
Duncan Kinney, Progress Report.
Hello, thanks for taking my question. So with the ability to appoint commissioners, the creation of provincial policing priorities, as well as making the police report to the province on those priorities, as well as a formal mechanism for the minister to step in and intervene in disputes between police forces and municipalities, why did you feel the need to concentrate so much power over municipal policing within the provincial government?
Well, I think there has, look, there, you know, unfortunately, you don't want, yeah, there's going to be, unfortunately, disputes. And, you know, it's, you know, unfortunately, somebody has to come in and be a bit of a, we'll call it an arbitrator, I guess, right? But, you know, we don't want anything to get to that type of level. I mean, I expect, whether it be police services, whether it be police, you know, commissions, you know, municipalities. I mean, you know, everybody needs to be working in the best interest of the people that they serve, and whether it be the local municipalities, whether it be the RCMP. I mean, this is a good news story in order to ensure that you know, folks have a say into their local police services. Yeah, I mean, so far, I mean, we've had very much positive feedback.
Thank you. And Duncan, do you have a follow-up?
I do, yeah. What's the expected budget for the Police Review Commission, and do you expect to share costs between municipal police forces? Do you know how that's going to work at all?
Yeah, a good question, Duncan. To be honest with you, you know, the question I asked the department, they're going to be working with those municipalities, so I don't have any specific numbers for you on that. You know, obviously there is going to be a cost, and those police services, I mean, obviously they won't be doing their professional standards section anymore. So, you know, how the department is going to work out the nuances on that will be up to them.
All right. Thank you, Minister, and that's all we have time for today for everybody. Thank you.
What did the mayor say when you told them, now I can appoint some of the members of your police commission?
Yeah, but that was a question you were asking. Yeah. Actually, you know, look, we actually had good support. I would say that from the mayors. They obviously, there's, you know, a couple that were asking for rationale, and it's just regards to having a seat at the table. I mean, obviously. You know, throughout Canada, there are provinces that appoint people on the police commissions. As you know, we're always directly compared to British Columbia on various topics. And you know, in British Columbia, as an example, they have, I would say, you know, they have 2 appointed by the city and then 7 appointed by the province, and that's and that. We're not doing that. This is just about having a seat at the table, ensuring that you know, municipalities and commissions are aware of government priorities. You know, for example, you know, mental health and addictions is very near and dear to my heart, and this current mandate of this government. So, you know, and obviously governments in the future are going to have different mandates, but ensuring that there's a seat at the table so the government priorities are there. So. Thank you very much.
Time for everybody. Thank you.